Welcome, everyone. My name is Aurelia Maraca. I'm the technology coordinator over at the Danbury Library, and we welcome you to the third and final part in our series, Intro to VJ Visual Arts with Brian Blair. This program is brought to you by the Friends of the Danbury Library, and I thank you for showing up this evening on this rainy spring night to participate in the third and final of our series. If you have any questions or you would like to see more programs like this, please just email me, amaraca@danburylibrary.org. And Brian, I just want to say thank you. This has been an amazing three-part series, and Brian and I were speaking prior to everyone coming in, and we will hold another series sometime soon. But right now things are opening up again. People are busy doing stuff. So we want to sort of settle down, get into the swing of things. And then once things settle down, we'll revisit that. So Brian, the comm is yours.
Thanks, Aurelio. And again, I'd really like to thank you and the Danbury Public Library for, first of all, for doing this for your community and everyone. I know I would really have benefited. Like if this was around when I was coming up, I totally would have loved this, and I probably would be a lot farther down the road than where I am, these days. And it's just a wonderful thing, and I'd really like to thank you for having me. This has also been a really pleasant departure from what I do normally, and one of the silver linings of this whole pandemic quarantine thing has been doing these sessions and being able to give back and teach some of the younger people about what we do. So thank you, and I look forward to anything else I can help with in the future. I look forward to it. I think this is great what you're doing. So thanks. I'd like to introduce myself for those who haven't taken part in the first two sessions of this. My name is Brian Blair, and for 25 plus years, I've been a veteran of the music industry and production, a career in production and in video, motion graphics, 3D, and web development and print production. So basically, I set out a long time ago to make a living being creative any way I knew how. And back then, it was a bit more involved. The tools that are out there today are incredible, and just make it really easy for people to be super creative now. So I just can't think of a better time in history to be creative, and I look forward to like the next 10, 25 years producing in this space. So it's a really fun if you're looking for it as a career path, or if it's just a hobby of yours. It's a really great way, great avenue of self-expression. And tonight I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the tools that I use. So like I said, for 25 years, I've done a lot of film, video production for concerts, festivals, and even some corporate stuff. I've worked with festivals such as Gathering the Vibes, Camp Bisco, Mountain Jam, Hangout out in Rhode Island, and most recently, and what will be coming up is Greenwich Town Party. In there, I've worked with artists such as Eric Clapton, members of the Grateful Dead, the Disco Biscuits, Galactic, De La Soul, just everything from jam bands to hip hop. A lot of electronic music. Electronic music is a huge love of mine. So anytime I get a chance to work in that environment, I jump at it, and I usually lower my price. So, and what I do for a lot of these festivals is not just video pre-production, but what I do is a lot of 2D, 3D, film, and live camera work. Many of it in pre-production. So I will get I'll get a stage set from a certain band and know their set list and prepare assets, and a lot of the assets are given to me. and I'll prepare them in a manner that I can project them onto various projection surfaces on the stage and concert area. So not the screens aren't always square and right behind the band. Sometimes we have like little fills above the speakers and stuff, and all that projection mapping that gets done. It's very very fun. It can get complicated, but it's really fun when you can make it work. Not too long ago, I was able to help out with the projection mapping for the Capitol Theater in over in New York, and that has got a round ceiling, and we mapped it out to the inch of this absolute beautiful round ceiling, and they could map in a 360-degree view. The equipment used in doing that was, it's just a multi-million-dollar production, and it basically it projects as a donut on the ceiling. So making that technology work was actually used a piece of software that NASA developed in order to project, capture and project perfectly round. They actually call them donuts in QuickTime. A lot of that same stuff is used for QuickTime VR. And it's just really fun medium, next level mediums to play with. So like I said, I've done this for concerts, multi-day festivals, and corporate events, many corporate meetings. And yeah, so tonight I want to go over some of the information that we went over in the first two episodes of this series, and I'll kind of keep that brief for those who've seen it. And then I want to go through some of the more in-depth tools that I use in my toolbox, some of which you've probably heard of, and others maybe not, and how they all relate to one another and come together into a final production. So without further ado, I'm going to get this off of my ugly mug and share my screen so you can see some magic. All right. Cool. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So actually this is just Chrome with a million windows. So the first week we went over let's see. Here's here we go. So this is Eon. This is a standalone application, a lot like the visualizer from Winamp. And what it does, it takes an audio signal into it. As you can see, it's moving to the sound of my voice. And it interacts with all of these motifs or different themes set up. And these themes can be programmed, switched, and actually played like an instrument. Almost every variable that makes this work is configured, and you can switch through the different programs. You can switch the color maps to them. Very lightweight on your processor, and very high impact from a point of view of if I need to just grab a laptop and go to a place and make pretty stuff happen on some screens. This is definitely a great tool to use. Really powerful. You can set up a bunch of a lot of the beauty of this is in the setup. So you can see it can do like very rich geometric shapes. It can do like the soft kind of almost organic looking stuff. Just kind of real color blur abstract things, whatever. And I group these things. Usually the secret sauce is you find 10 or so of these that agree with one another. So these two aren't necessarily in the same family, but you find 10 that are, and you keep them in a bank, and you have like the abstract, the organic, the super psychedelic, This is more like 3D spacey stuff. And you keep them together, and then, you know, you can layer in some other effects and layers. Very powerful stuff, very easy to use, and very lightweight, very reliable. I've actually, I mean, knock on wood, I've never had a catastrophic failure or a machine crash running this software in a live environment. So really powerful stuff here, and very easy to use. After that, we talked about, let's just hide this. We also talked about Avenue by Resolume. And this is another really awesome piece of software. So this does a little more in video world. This incorporates actual video, and as well as the, you know, the graphics stuff. Both of these applications have free trial versions and are free to download. Let's see, I have a list of links somewhere that I'll furnish Aurelio with, so you guys can download and try out all this stuff. So this allows you to just drag and drop a bunch of actual video files, and layer them with other geometric and video files, and create really feature-rich looking video. A lot more sophisticated than Eon, but also a lot more processor intensive. And the other thing that this doesn't really have the same, one thing I really like about Eon is that it actually goes with the music, the fact that it's incorporated into the audio, and you get this, you get it like that where it reacts to the audio. It's really cool when you get some music going. You know, I think I had, see. So you can kind of see how that adds a different dimension into it. Resolume doesn't really offer that in the video space. So one thing I really like to do when I want to take a production to the next level is I will use Eon on a laptop and Resolume on maybe another laptop or a workstation that I'll bring, and I'll mix them in like old school video, and I'll just get a video mixer and start using it as if it was a multicam shoot. And then again, on situations like that, I also really like to always set up a live camera, usually on stage. If I can get a 5-camera mix, I like that, and just feed it into another input in the mixer. So I could even mix in, say, video footage of a band member or DJ, and then that really takes it to the next level. So a lot of fun to play with, and almost virtually just an infinite number of configurations that you can put in it. One thing I will say about Resolume is, or Avenue rather, by Resolume, is that you need a pretty good workstation in order to do this live, and you need really fast and chunky hard drives in order to make this perform flawlessly. Like I said, with Eon, I've never had a catastrophic failure of hardware. With Resolume, you're without the proper hardware, you're really taking some chances. And so I highly suggest when using Resolume, make sure you have definitely something with a lot of RAM, good processing power, and you store your videos on a nice chunky solid state drive, and you should be good. Other honorable mentions in this space, in my travels and researching this very series, I've run across an application called Notch. And Notch has a builder and Notch has a playback application too. There is a trial, however, I didn't get into it because it is a PC only program and I am a Mac guy. So I do have a gaming machine that I use, but I don't have a workstation. So I didn't download it and check that out. I know it comes highly regarded in the industry. I know a lot of pros that use it. But again, I just don't spend that much time on a PC to go down that road. But it works very similar to Avenue. It's a bit more configurable in the relationship of how things work out. Like this, you can see it. This works a lot like Photoshop or something where everything's in layers. Notch is a bit more advanced, and it allows you to plug in different textures into video files, and it really dives a bit deeper into how the layers react to one another, and how the audio can react to different layers and modifiers to this. So you can see, like, I can play with the hue. Well, something like this, I could just hook this up to an audio file and have just the hue bump to whatever the music is. So a lot of fun toys in Notch. So I highly suggest if you're curious in that and you've got a PC, there is a trial version. All I had to do was sign up, give them my email, and and they let me in. But again, PC only. Some of the other tools that I use, I want to just go through, and again, this may be some stuff that you guys probably already know, but Creative Suite by Adobe is probably one of, I mean, this is where I spend most of my time in almost all of this. One thing I've found that is extremely important is the preparation in a lot of this stuff. You know, you can toss a bunch of video files into Resolume but when they all relate to each other, kind of like the Eon stuff, like when you have all of your assets have a relationship and they kind of have that same DNA flowing through them, it makes it really easy in the mix to really produce a very professional look. So I spend a lot of time in the pre-production area. Photoshop is definitely, like, most of us know Photoshop and what it can do. One thing I really like to do is I like to design things in Photoshop, and then export my layers for After Effects. In After Effects, which is probably one of my all-out favorite applications. Besides Illustrator, of course. Illustrator is my absolute go-to favorite application in the Creative Suite. But After Effects is cool because it can make Photoshop and Illustrator, basically all of these applications you can save, bring it into After Effects, and you can make Photoshop move and animate and add a bunch of really cool effects. And then timeline stuff. So, and then of course, export a bunch of, you know, whatever you want. Let's see what I have. I think this is. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Oh, no, there it is. So this is one of those things that I built for a corporate event. These guys make really high-end Land Rovers, and they needed a go-to explainer video for them. And this is actually, let's just zoom out a little bit. Oh, this is just a little 15-second clip. So, but you can see how, you know, all of these, you know, this is a video file with all of these layers from my Photoshop and Illustrator just layered on top of it and modified, you know, whatever I want to do with it. So in here, you can fold down all of your layers and transform it. Basically, every modifier you have in Photoshop and Final Cut Pro and, you know, Premiere, anything like that is here. So you have position, scale, rotation, opacity, different effects. I won't go through them all, but as you can see, you can take certain layers and then you can modify, the modifiers are down here. And then here you can modify the modifiers along a timeline. So it's really powerful stuff. I can't recommend After Effects enough for the visual arts. If you learn this program, you can make a lot of money, and you can make some really sophisticated things happen. I know people, you know, I've just made a whole niche market just on promoting myself as an After Effects person, and it's there's a lot of work out there if you have the patience to learn this program. It is a monster. It's a lot like Photoshop. There is 100 different ways to do the same thing. It's highly configurable. So a lot of times there's not always a right way to do things, but there's a way that, you know, there's a way I do them, and maybe you might do things a different way. So it's a really great way to just jump in and start experimenting with. If you want to take your Photoshop files to the next level, I highly suggest exporting them for After Effects, or I believe in this version you can just import, you can import a Photoshop file from here, and then assign the different layers how you want them. So again, I don't want to go too in depth on any of this, so I just kind of want to gloss over all of the tools that I use, and then hopefully leave some time for questions, as I'm curious to see where you guys are at too. Let's see. After Effects is like very close companion is Premiere. Premiere is Adobe's version of Final Cut. I'm a huge Final Cut Pro fan. This allows me to take, usually what I will do is I'll take my finished After Effects files, and then I'll lay them out in Final Cut along a timeline. And another very close relative to that in the whole video editing family is DaVinci Resolve. Now we talked about this in the second episode of this series, and again, I can't say enough good things about DaVinci Resolve. This is used by many very professional people in the industry. I know I just worked with a guy who does like Beyonce's videos, and he uses Resolve. This application is free. It's made by Blackmagic, and Blackmagic makes some of the best hardware in the video business, especially for live video production. I highly suggest you check out the website. I believe it's blackmagic.com. Let me just. Oh, it's blackmagicdesign.com. Let's see. Yeah. So blackmagicdesign.com, and then you can go over onto the DaVinci Resolve 17. Again, this is a fully free. You just download it now. They do this, and they basically just they picked up Final Cut Pro and they made some really awesome changes to it. They stripped down some of the stuff that makes Final Cut very bubbly and user friendly and just super drag and drop, and it's not as simple to use as Final Cut Pro is, but it has all of it has it where it counts. And the reason they offer this for free, again, is they make all of these. Let's see if I can get like these consoles and these color wheels. They make some of the coolest looking, like all these control surfaces. They make just really cool looking video studio hardware. And almost every single one of the, yeah, like this is my happy place right here. In almost every single video truck I've ever worked in, there's always a Blackmagic, usually either a deck or console. So we really enjoy DaVinci Resolve. Yeah, this is their stuff. These are not free at all. In fact, they're very expensive. So this is what, this is the kind of stuff this is what I want my studio to look like. So so moving on. So film editors, one thing that, so taking it from there, another area, stepping aside from the 2D world of the 2D world of After Effects and all that, and a very good companion where I go next is Cinema 4D. Cinema 4D is a 3D generator, and this is a great program when you're in pre-production to make some really cool looking effects, environments, and other just cool movement. The whole premise behind Cinema 4D is you can get, I'm moving things along. You can get some really sophisticated, you can make whole environments, put cameras in them, and then animate those cameras and objects. So this is all just these polygons, and you just see them as unrendered without textures. So there's modeling, there's the surfacing of the model, there is the lighting of the environment, there's the cameras that are in the environment, and and then there's the animation of all of those elements together. So really complicated stuff. To be honest, I love 3D applications. They're a great way to get really lost in details. Usually people know one particular area of 3D graphics, be it modeling, surfacing, lighting, and the animation and the camera rigging. If you're really good, 2 or 3 of the 4. I have not, I haven't met anyone who's really a master of all of them. It's really detailed stuff usually. I really like the modeling stuff. I really like the texturing. And then the other important thing to know about the 3D applications, and there are many of them, I should add. So this is Cinema 4D. There's also 3D Studio Max is very popular, but again, PC only. And then there's Blender. And Blender, I haven't messed with Blender in a while, but Blender for the longest time, and it still may be. In fact, I'm going to check in real time here. I believe Blender is free. Yeah, it's a free and open source. Blender is awesome. It can do everything. It's a lot like the DaVinci Resolve of the 3D world. Blender is a great 3D program that can do all of the things, just not as user-friendly as a Cinema 4D thing. And let's see, I want to get this. So you guys can see, I actually just reinstalled this version of 3D Studio Max in order to show you guys. So all my preferences are a little weird right now. Yeah, so here we go. So in this particular space, you can see, here's my object. My camera's way out over here. So believe it or not, I'm going to play you. So this is a 3D Studio Max. This is the actual file that gets generated from that, which, well, let's see. So really in-depth stuff. A video like that can take weeks, months to perfect all the animation and stuff. Sometimes, some people just have it and they can, crank it out pretty quickly. But the lightings and the animation side of it, very complicated stuff, but super fun to do. Let's see. I want to move on to, let's see, what was I? Yeah. So we talked about Premiere Pro, After Effects. I use Lightroom to organize all of my photography and video assets. It's a really great program on how to organize assets in a meaningful way. You can tag things, you can rate things, you can color code things. It's basically the well, it's kind of like the iTunes for all of your assets. So you can easily organize and find, export, and adapt all of your assets, no matter what particular project you're working in. I don't want to go into that. Dreamweaver is all web development stuff. Animate is cool. It's kind of it kind of takes the place of it's kind of an in-between. It's nice for SVG animation. It kind of took the place of an old program called Flash that was fun for scripting and adding. Like if you had to program physics into animation, you can do it via Animate. This character animator is probably one of my favorite additions to Creative Suite in the past couple of years. One thing it's really good at doing, and one thing that I've done a lot of, is you can take normal vector cartoons and animate them using the camera of your laptop. So I can set up a cartoon. I can tell character animator where the eyes and mouth are, the eyebrows, and you can program. Actually, I actually don't have animators set up on this. I have it set up on my laptop because it's very involved with the camera. You can set up the kinesis for your arms, and it'll watch your webcam, and you could act out a scene, and you can control cartoons. And then you can export those cartoons and the voiceovers for them, and make things like explainer videos and full-fledged animation pretty quickly. It is a lot of fun, and anyone with a Creative Suite account, I highly suggest, if you have not gotten into character animator, it's a lot of fun. I use Audition for audio mixing and editing, and yeah, some of the other stuff like Dimension is Adobe's version of 3D Studio. One thing I really like about mixing you can take After Effects and then you can apply 3D graphics to the background. So one thing I really like to do I'll create something in Photoshop and import the layers into After Effects. I'll do animations to the artwork, but sometimes I'll leave the background completely blank and leave it as a keyed out background, and then I'll make the entire background just in 3D, and then add it as a layer in my either right back in After Effects, or sometimes I'll even do it in my final editing program to add effects to the separate layers. So you can see how once you start to know a lot of these tools, they all interact to one another, and you always have an opportunity at every stage to sweeten the deal, add effects, color correct, bring it to the next level. I always spend a lot of time exploring how the look can develop, and sometimes I'll make a lot of what I call happy accidents. But sometimes you just you know what you're going after, and you just do it. A lot of my production workflow relies on templates, and once I find success in one thing, I'll usually find a way to save my work or create a template out of it so I can do it again even quicker the next time. So when I have a happy accident, I document it and I template it out so I can keep using it. Let's see. Blender, Vinci Resolve. So from there, another aspect of production that I'd like to talk about is the live broadcast version of all of this. So once you're done with your 2D art, and maybe you've brought it into After Effects and you've animated it and you've made it look really awesome, and you're happy with the look, and you start adding your 3D graphics and making it look super pro. You put it in your editing program, and you sweeten the deal even there. To get it out is usually the next step. One area I've really been focusing on lately, especially with this whole stay-at-home culture, is live streaming onto all the platforms. I've been diving deep into OBS and making sure all of my assets create I'll create basically performances. So do a whole VJ set with audio and just stream it, not just on the Twitch, but do it onto Twitch, YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, Periscope, you name it. If it's got an API that I can broadcast onto, I'll do it simultaneously through a little app I use called Restream.io. So I'll put something in OBS, I'll mix my live cameras with my media. I'll create my scenes in OBS. I'll plug my OBS into Restream, and I'll plug all my platforms into Restream.io, and then hit stream, and I can shotgun out one signal and get it on many, many different platforms so I can maximize my traction. So that's a really fun tool to play with, especially if you're into gaming, like live streaming your games or anything like that. All of this, then you probably know all about OBS and Twitch streaming. So at this time, I'm kind of wondering, does anyone have any questions?
If you have any questions, just type it in the chat and I'll relay it to Brian.
Well, while we wait and see if there's any questions, I would like, let's just see. So this is a set by an artist I really enjoy by the name of Soundcat, and it's a DJ mix with just this is the guy that introduced me to Notch, and I really like the work that he does. A little fast for this type of music, but we switch it over into Eon.
Yeah, no, I think noise will do it. I'll tell you when. The sirens of all the cars at once. Yeah. Listen, young man, you so much as mention his name and I will stop your allowance. Yeah.
Brian, we have a question.
Shoot.
So can you make a DVD while using the program? Like if you're doing a party and you just want to make a video of the party?
I'm sorry, say again?
I'll repeat it. Can you make a DVD while using the program? Like if you're doing a party and want to make a video of the party?
That's a good question. A DVD, I would say, would be a little bit of a stretch, only because there's encoding that takes place between making the actual file and printing it on a disk. I think a better way to go. You could absolutely screen record an MOV or MP4 file, and then burn that file to a disk. But I'm sure you could find a DVD recorder that could encode on the fly. It's not something I would really rest my entire production on. I would definitely have a dedicated deck just to capture an MOV file.
I agree, Brian, because you may not get the best quality from it. Like as right now, as everyone is watching this Zoom presentation, a lot of the stuff, it may seem a little jittery, a little laggy. And if you see on the on Brian's screens, everything's very smooth and organic and everything. It's just a lot of information that's coming through right now that might not get picked up, and that's what you may run across if you just burn it onto a DVD straight away.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing too is that there's the encoding process is very processor intensive, and it's an opportunity to pick up what like glitches in the video. I know what we're looking at, there's a lot of glitch in the video. That's on purpose. But when you start to get, like, let's say you wanted something to look absolutely perfect, and you see little squares or lines in something, those are what we call artifacts. And when you encode on the fly, there's basically there's a setting that says, I want it good or I want it fast. You can't have both. If you have the hardware, sometimes you can get that way, but encoding on the fly is a risky business, especially if you want to design for your final product should always be as high res as possible, because it's easy to go big and produce small. It's impossible to go small and produce big. You just can't make something bigger than it is. So I would record an MOV and burn it to a disk.
That's probably your best bet, unless you have really good equipment at hand. But I would say, just experiment. You'll see what Brian is talking about. Try with a DVD, try with a flash drive. You'll see a difference.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, these days, I haven't even used DVDs a lot in the past few years. One thing I've really enjoyed is these SD cards are incredible, just super small, super fast, no moving parts in the hard drive, and for recording, I can't think of a better medium available today. And you know, they're pretty cheap too. I just picked up a 2 terabyte super fast SD card for my drone, and it's incredible. It records, it never complains. It just delivers the goodness.
There you have it. Yeah. Buy an SD card when they're on sale, of course. You'll save a lot of money.
Yeah, and plus, you know, if you know, they're reusable. That's the other thing, you know, they're reusable. Like I don't know how many times I've just made coasters out of DVDs. Um, So I highly suggest going SD and then moving to DVD. So
I think we have one more question. Hold on, let me see. That was it.
I was thinking I did leave one portion out of the 3D Studio or of Cinema 4D, and that is the kinesiology. So you can see this like little like fat Wolverine dude dancing on the screen here.
I thought it was stop motion animation.
What's that?
It looks like stop motion animation.
It kind of does, but honestly, I believe that was made in 3D. One really cool thing about the Cinema 4D is that you can actually program in physics. All of the camera settings and everything are completely configurable to real world cameras. So like if you have a 160 millimeter lens, it's going to look that way. You know, everything's very close to reality, and you can make models. There's whole models of people and beings. So when you see people like making video games and you see them in that suit with all the balls on it, and they're recording the movements, all of that is being recorded. Those balls are actually waypoints for the polygons in something like Cinema 4D or Blender, where they record those movements and then they translate them into polygons, and you can set like how the arm attaches to the body and how the arm reacts when it moves. Very sophisticated stuff. If you're into video game production, Cinema 4D is a real, it's just a wealth of capability. And yeah, it can, depending on what you do, you can spend super long time getting really good at that. And I always found that one area is super powerful, and I just thought it was like a next level thing. So you can make, I did a lot of like, you model out a comic book character, or even you can make it look very cartoony, if you're into making cartoons and stuff. And you can actually make a bunch of 2D stuff in Cinema 4D. In fact, that is how South Park is made. Like, so when you look at South Park, you see how like, it's not exactly 2D animation. There's like this little like area of 3D that they kind of hit every once in a while. Like it's got depth to it. They stay 2D, but it's actually made in a 3D application. And that's how they get that very, it's a different look for cartoons. So
They actually, I think Trey and Matt of South Park, they had that software developed in order to do the show, because their I guess like the first show was all, or like their pilot was all handmade, and it took them like 3 months to do. So and they wanted to be up to date and current with any sort of like topical issues, so they can make fun of them for the show. And they asked, I guess, a software company to make that software so they can actually produce each episode of South Park is done in, I think, what, 5 or 6 days, Brian?
yeah, Yeah, I mean,
They write, shoot, and edit and voice everything in like less than a week.
yeah, and it's really, I mean, it's powerful stuff for animators. And again, if they're not using Adobe Animate to do like the mouth movements and the eye movements and stuff, I would be shocked. I know that their layout program they did have made, and I've also seen some people do some really great things in 3D Studio Max and Cinema 4D on a 2D level. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's how you produce 20 something seasons of a hit animated series, you know. And they just crank
They
out.
do 2 seasons a year too.
That's, I mean, their production schedule is insane, and I would love to be a fly on the wall in their production meetings. So yeah, that's that's a great point, because they produce a lot of stuff. So I think with Team America too, they use, well, that was a pretty good example of, that was puppets, but the backgrounds and stuff, a lot of the backgrounds and stuff were animated in that style. So and you can apply the very same thing to stop motion animation and anything sort of like that, especially if you do stop motion on a green screen, and then you can insert that 3D background. So very infinite ways to be creative. That's what we like.
Oh yeah. Well, we're approaching the end of our workshop. So any last questions for Brian before we end the session? I guess not. Wow.
Well, if any questions do pop up, you can always email me at brian@supermegapixel.com. And in the meantime, happy creating, and I hope you all enjoyed this series, Intro to Visual Arts. And again, thank you, Aurelio.